Southeast Michigan is a great place to live, and regional planning is key to ensuring that we maintain the infrastructure and services that nearly 5 million people rely upon each day.
Responding to the challenges and opportunities of an ever-changing world is essential for planning for a successful future, and the 2045 Regional Transportation Plan is one of the ways we do that. Investment in Michigan's infrastructure, including roads and bridges, has fallen short for years, and transit service compares poorly with other regions. Current funding is neither sufficient to bring roads up to a state of good repair, nor to expand transit options. This affects access to jobs, education, and other core services.
The ways in which we maintain and enhance our transportation system need to reflect our regional values. The policies and actions in this plan are targeted to make the best use of available resources.
Of the nearly $36 billion being invested in the 2045 long-range plan, approximately $26 billion is being spent on improving our roads and bridges, and over $9 billion is being spent on maintaining our transit system. 74% of the investments to roads and bridges is being used to improve and preserve our aging infrastructure.
Based on the data and analysis of the 2045 regional forecast, we know that Southeast Michigan's demographics are changing, and so are the ways people travel.
Our population is increasing slowly. We'll add 380,000 people, or 8%, in 30 years. Most of our population increase will be in senior age group. People ages 65 or older will increase by 67%. Aging population will change travel patterns because seniors travel very differently than working age people.
In addition to modeling future needs based on information from the regional forecast, this plan incorporates input from elected officials, partner agencies, and Southeast Michigan residents.
We did a lot of public outreach ahead of this plan. We went out to each and every county to meet with people. We also had a statistically representative survey that asked a variety of transportation questions about how people use the system and what they desire from it. We saw a broad range of attitudes and opinions about where the region should go with transportation, but also a lot of commonality.
To make the greatest impact, SEMCOG incorporates transportation system data along with demographic information.
We measure access to core services at SEMCOG. We're talking about everything from your hospitals to jobs, to how you get to the library. So for access, we really are looking at all of our population, regardless of income, regardless of where you live. Can you get to the places you want to get to?
Roads and bridges are the backbone of our transportation system. Whether we're thinking about the best ways to move people or goods, the entire system relies upon us maintaining our roads and the structures that support them.
By undertaking a data-driven approach, you're not just factoring in the condition of the road, but you're considering the overall well-being of the community. We can look at these multiple factors and try to build better communities. An asset management approach is trying to put on the proper fix at the proper time. You can maximize the limited transportation dollars we have. SEMCOG, working with the Michigan Department of Transportation and the county road commissions, as well as communities, rate the major roads.
Arriving safely is the most important result of any trip. Loss of life, health, time, and property are all consequences of traffic crashes. People who walk and bike are especially vulnerable to serious injury or death when involved in a traffic crash.
SEMCOG does an annual safety analysis where we look at the annual crash data for the whole region and identify priority locations for different types of crashes and emphasis areas. And we provide that information to our members and partners to help identify locations where safety projects could be implemented to improve the safety for all road users.
Whether traveling down the street or across the state, a balance of safe, accessible transportation options is essential.
People should care about transit because it's important to our economy, it's important to quality of life. It really doesn't matter who you are. Pick a region that you think is important and is vibrant. There's one thing in common that we don't have, and that's a robust transit system. To get to the point where you want to have dedicated funding for transit, you have to identify the needs And part of that is going out and looking at baseline data, which is what we're really good at with SEMCOG, right? It's one of the major things that we do. It's not just providing the data, but it's putting the data together and analyzing it to understand complex issues and policy decisions. So if your goal is to access more people, you need to put more service out there and be more reliable.
In the beginning of the 20th century, new technologies brought upon massive changes in the way people travel and live. We are now at a new tipping point where advances in technology are opening up new possibilities.
Probably the most significant advances that we're going to see in the next couple decades will be connected and autonomous vehicles on our roadways. So one of the benefits of these new technologies is really the reduction of vehicular crashes on our roadways. The other thing that we really need to think about in the short term, probably the biggest thing, is how we utilize our curb. So if we end up having more car sharing and more autonomous vehicles that are waiting for pickups, how does car sharing end up changing our curbs? And how does even using e-scooters, how does that end up even changing the way that we use our roadways or our sidewalks? Longer term, when we have autonomous vehicles, you could end up spending part of your time, while the vehicle is driving itself. You could be working, you could be having a meeting, you could be watching a TV show. So, it's completely different, and, we're not focused our time on driving. We can spend that time being productive.
Throughout Southeast Michigan, our transportation system provides access to an abundance of natural assets. Expanding trail connections increases access to natural areas and opportunities to enjoy them.
I think the biggest thing we're trying to do here is give people transportation choices. So that way they can look at where they're going and determine the most effective solution to get to that destination. Sometimes that might be driving, sometimes it might be walking, other times maybe it's transit or taking a bike. So being able to have those transportation options to be able to walk or bike allows people to stay in the place that they choose and create a real community.
Whether flying, riding a train, or taking a bus, travelers rely on speed, frequency, reliability, and convenient connections. Enhancements to our inner-city connections make Southeast Michigan a better place to live, visit, and do business.
How does our airport provide connectivity to the broader world? How does our rail lines provide access and to destinations such as Chicago or to Toronto? How does our region connect to not only the broader state, but also to the broader country and internationally? People come here to enjoy these amenities, and how we connect to them is important.
People need to get to work and school. Materials for manufacturing need to get to their destinations on time to be on schedule. Traffic congestion can have adverse effects on our economy and air quality, in addition to making life more frustrating.
We measure transportation system performance using a wide range of data available to us. So we have access to a lot of real-time speed data. We have access to traffic counts. We have access to traffic incident data. And we kind of take all of that information and coalesce that into being able to measure things like travel time reliability, delay, even average speeds. And so from that, we can take a look at where there are needs and then work with our transportation partners in order to plan those investments accordingly to mitigate congestion.
Transportation accounts for over 1/3 of all impervious surface. Installing green infrastructure improves water infiltration and water quality.
So one of the things that we can do is think about the environmental protection earlier on in the transportation planning phases. When we think about climate resiliency and flooding mitigation, we often think about the events that impact us the most. So maybe you lived in a community that had basement backups in our big 2014 event. So in order to prevent that, what we can do is think about green infrastructure and innovative ways that we can stop that stormwater from reaching the sewer and then discharging into either the wastewater treatment plant or the natural water bodies.
The efficient movement of goods throughout Southeast Michigan is critical for our economy, and keeping factories supplied with parts and raw materials, as well as keeping stores and households supplied with things we want and need.
Our regional economy depends on moving goods. Our manufacturing industries rely on just-in-time deliveries between factories in order to reduce their costs and keep their products at a reasonable price. moving consumer goods into the region to be distributed to stores or to people's mailboxes and driveways. So just about everything that we use in our daily lives comes from somewhere else and needs to be transported to where we can use it.
Several major projects in this plan will enhance our transportation system in the coming years,
including I-94 between I-96 and Connor in Detroit, I-75 between 8 Mile and 13 Mile in Oakland County, the Detroit Intermodal Freight Terminal in southwest Detroit, I-375 between Jefferson and I-75 Interchange in Detroit, the Blue Water Bridge Plaza in Port Huron, and Mound Road from I-696 to M59 in Macomb County.
This has been a glimpse into some of the moving parts of Southeast Michigan's transportation system. Guided by our vision for this region, SEMCOG's Regional Transportation Plan sets a course to meet Southeast Michigan's needs now through the year 2045.
We look forward to working with local governments and transportation agencies in implementing this plan. Learn more at semcog.org/RTP.